Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Review. My name's Jeff, and today I'll be reviewing a bottle that was gifted to me from the great guys over at Worth a Dram. Now theirs is another whiskey review channel on YouTube. If you want to go check that out, I highly recommend it. They're great guys, they're funny, the production quality is off the charts, and they're just churning out great content right now. So go check them out. I will link their channel down below in the description as well. And I won a contest of theirs that was just send in a photo of you with your favorite whiskey, and I won a really nice decanter, and then just as a bonus they sent me this bottle from where they're at in Arizona, and a sample of one of the distillery's other offerings. So to get into this whiskey, this is called Whiskey Del Bac, and it's really unique. I've only had it once or twice so far after opening it. I got this about last week, and it's nothing like anything I've ever had before. This is an American single malt, so 100% malted barley. But what they do is, since they're down in Tucson, Arizona, they actually smoke the malted barley using mesquite smoke. Now that's a very similar style to what a lot of Scottish distilleries do when they want to make peated Scottish whiskey. They'll kind of, as the barley is malting, in order to stop that malting process, they have to heat it up. And in the past, before charcoal and more advanced methods were discovered to kind of make the fires for that, the Scots used peat, and that was what they used for fire source. So that peat smoke is actually what got infused into the barley, and you tasted it when it came out, after distillation and everything. So the guys that started this distillery, Hamilton Distillers, I believe they were drinking scotch and having a barbecue using mesquite wood chips, and they thought, why can't we make a Scottish style whiskey but use mesquite wood and smoke it that way instead of using peat. So that's how this idea was born for this one. Now they also make a classic American single malt. That again is 100% malted barley. It just isn't smoked using the mesquite. And then this is the Distiller's Cut, which is a limited release that they do, I believe, every year, at least for the last couple of years now. And this one, from what I understand, is a mixture between the Dorado, which is the mesquite smoke style, their classic style, and then what they do is they usually finish it in some sort of barrel, whether it's an Armagnac barrel, a cognac barrel, some sort of usually wine finishing, or maybe even tequila, something like that. So, and this is also cask strength. So this sample in particular is 57.25 ABV. I should note that the Del Bac Dorado is 90 proof, so that's going to be 45% ABV. And I know this is non-chill filtered, which means they don't run through any chill filtration, which leaves a lot of the more of the esters and the oils in that would otherwise be stripped out. I would assume that the Distiller's Cut is also non-chill filtered. I don't think they do any chill filtration with any of their whiskeys. And again, from reading online, all of their malting, mashing, fermentation, and distillation, bottling, it all happens under one roof in their Tucson, Arizona plant. So that's kind of cool. I'm sure they're sourcing the barley, I would assume, being in the desert like that, but everything is done kind of on site, which I really appreciate. I think that's really cool. So if you haven't seen one of my videos, what I'm going to do is I'll pour these, and then usually I just do one of them, but since I have this one, which is from the same distillery, it's going to be somewhat similar, higher proof, I thought, why not do both? So we'll take a look at the color, and then I'm going to grade the nose, the palate, the finish, and then the value. And I'll try to go a little quicker since there's two of them here, but this is one that, since getting about a week ago, I told the guys I'd do a review on this one, and I'm really excited for it. So let's get this bottle open here. That was a pretty good cork pop. Like I said, this has only been open about a week, so it might not have had all the time in the world yet to fully open up. I know with a lot of, especially higher proof whiskeys and bourbons, once you kind of get past the shoulder of the bottle, they call it, usually that's when the oxygen starts to react with the whiskey inside, tends to open it up a little bit more. So It's not with all bourbons or whiskeys that happens, but it's some more than others. We'll see. I think with that mesquite smoked barley, it just imparts a lot of flavor. I'll also pour this one here. Again, this is the Distiller's cut from this year, this fall. And I'll try to save about half of that so I'm not drinking all of it at once. It's, again, 57.25, so that's gonna be coming in pretty hot. So now with the history and kind of the intro of what this bottle is, let's go into the whiskey. Looking at the color, it's definitely darker than like your typical Scotch would be. Scotch usually tends to be really light. This has definitely got some copper kind of color going on with it. And I don't know the actual age statement of this one, or if a single American single malt, if it has to be aged a certain amount. But this definitely has some color going on. I wouldn't think they'd be adding any caramel coloring, so I think a lot of that probably comes from the mesquite smoke and also just the barrel. I would assume they're using charred new oak barrels for this. Again, I don't think I found that researching online or on the bottle it says, but I would assume that's what they're using as far as the aging goes. So it's definitely darker. Let's go in for the nose here. All right, so this may be one of the kind of weirdest flavors that I get on the nose of any whiskey. And this wasn't, recommended to me or suggested to me at all, but I'm getting a really big hit of red vines on the nose on this one. If you're familiar with the red licorice candy red vines, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like Twizzlers, but completely different. So it's a different candy, completely different smell and taste and everything. And that's what this, right in the very beginning, is smelling like. Now, after that sweetness goes away, there's just a lot of mesquite smoke coming at you, kind of almost hitting you right in the face. There's not a lot of ethanol burn because it's only 90 proof. And there's not a whole lot of baking spice going on like what you'd attribute to like a bourbon. This is mostly going to be sweetness with that malted barley, and then the smokiness with the mesquite smoke in there. It's kind of just a nice balance between sweet and smoky. So it kind of reminds me of like a sweet barbecue sauce almost. Now, I don't do a lot of smoking or grilling, and I certainly am not from the American Southwest, so I don't have as big of an experience to draw off of when it comes to mesquite and kind of knowing that scent really well. But I would imagine that if you are from the Southwest, or if you know that mesquite smell really well, this you'll recognize instantly. And it does jog into my mind like just images of the Southwest. Just kind of that desert, that tumbleweed, just that's what it brings to mind when I smell this. It definitely has that kind of like chipotle mesquite thing going on with it, which this being mesquite smoked, you would hope so, but it is very upfront. Yeah, and I can't get past that red vines smell. I like red vines, so it's pleasing to me. I like it, but if you don't like mesquite smoke, if you don't like that balance of sweet and smoky, you might not like this one. But so far, I'm really digging this. Let's go in for the palate. Cheers, guys. Okay, so the palate stays very true to the nose. And again, it takes the nose and then kind of cranks it up a level, especially that smoke. And again, this is not like a peat smoke like peated Scotch. Peat smoke is a lot more of like rubber and iodine and salt and seaweed and things like that. This is strictly mesquite smoked. So it's just gonna be that like kind of Southwest barbecue thing going on. And again, I don't really cook with mesquite, so I don't know how else to describe it. So this is available in 19 states from what I could find on their website. You can also get it through Drizzly and Caskers, which are two online distributors of whiskey, and I think they also do wine and a whole bunch of other liquors, alcohols. So this is available, I think, if you want to get it. But I know it's more so going to be seen kind of in that Tucson area, Southwest, Arizona. But yeah, this is just completely different than anything I've had before. I can't really, you know, compare it to a whole lot other than, you know, just a Southwest barbecue. All right, so I'm gonna grade the nose on this one. I'll try to do this as quick as I can, especially with there being two of them. I like this nose a lot. I think it's different enough. It brings a lot to the table. It's very consistent. I'm gonna give the nose a 7. If you don't like mesquite smoke, if you don't like sweetness at all, you know, if you're used to just peated Scotch, this is gonna be way different. Might not be your cup of tea. I could see this one being a little bit polarizing just for that specific reason. But I really am digging this one. And now let's go into the palate. Again, I'll take another sip and we'll grade it. Yeah, this just has a lot of good things going on with it. Like I said, this is non-chill filtered, so it has a little bit kind of oilier or more viscous of a mouthfeel. I really like that when it comes to whiskeys. A lot of times you'll see that in bourbons. Not a lot of Scotches have that. So, you know, this is kind of a little refreshing with it being a single malt that is non-chill filtered. I haven't seen that too often. I don't know how common that is, but I enjoy it. And like I said before, there's just that nice balance of sweet and smoky. So there's a little bit of cinnamon, but it's like just caramelized brown sugar. There's just that smoke that goes on for days. And it is very forward. So you do have to search a little bit to find some of the nuances. But yeah, there's that mesquite smoke. After it dies away, well, I'll get into the finish a little bit later. We're looking at the palate. So I'm gonna give the palate a good solid 7.5 on this one. I really enjoy this. Again, it's completely unique, so maybe that's why it's, you know, scoring a little bit higher for me, but you know, I think with it being that unique and just a solid pour, I'm gonna go with a 7.5. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the finish. And again, the finish is kind of what you taste and how long you taste some of the flavors after you've already swallowed it and kind of what lingers after. So I'll take one more sip. So it's interesting, after that kind of first wave of mesquite kind of dies down, you do start to pick out a lot of different flavors that are going on. There's a little bit of kind of like a dry tobacco or like tannin thing going on, almost like a little bit of leather. There's a hint of chocolate as well, almost like a dark cacao or like a dark chocolate. Again, those are really only showing up on the finish. I think that mesquite just kind of hides maybe some of that during the palate, or at least to me. It's hard to find that in the beginning and in the mid palate, but on that finish, once that smoke kind of dies out, you start to pick up on a few other things there. It is a really nice finish. There's nothing weird going on. I wouldn't say it's super long because, you know, with this being 90 proof, sometimes the alcohol doesn't quite carry through the flavors quite as long, but it's definitely, it is a good finish. I'm really liking this one. I think I'll give the finish a 7. I think, you know, it could be longer, could be a little bit maybe better, but I think the fact that it's quite a bit different than the palate says quite a bit, and it just, you know, gives you some different flavors that weren't quite there, and I like that. All right, so now that brings us to the value, and I think that's going to be the hardest thing to grade or to judge on this one. Now, as I've said before, you can find this in other states. It's not just an Arizona exclusive release, but I just don't think the distribution is quite, you know, up there with a lot of other things, right? Because they started this idea at least back in 2006, I believe, and I think they've only been really producing, you know, more and more whiskey kind of within the last 4 or 5 years. So they're still a very new operation. I would expect the distribution to probably just continue to get bigger and better as they make more and, you know, as the word gets out. But as of right now, I think it's only available in 19 states as far as their kind of internal distribution or their distributors that they work with, but it is available online. So, you know, because of that, you still can find it. This it retails for about $59, which I think is worth every penny of this one. I know that's, you know, starting to get up there. That's kind of into that mid-range as far as I'm concerned, kind of tier. But with this being so unique and so different, just the quality I can tell is there, you know. And again, you know, the story isn't this super romanticized, you know, generations long thing. Like they're pretty honest about where they come from, how they make the whiskey, you know, the idea of what they're doing, and the transparency of it all too. And I just really appreciate that. I think this is a really good product, and I definitely recommend it for someone looking to try something different. You know, if you really like, especially if you're someone who smokes meats a lot, if you know, barbecue a lot, if you like the mesquite flavor especially, this is going to be right up your alley. So again, it might not be for everyone. You know, everyone's taste is different. I didn't know whether or not I would like this one, but it turned out that I did. So kind of pleased about that. So again, the value is going to be a little bit hard to judge on this, but I think I'm going to grade it pretty high, because I'm assuming that, you know, if you can find it, or I'm assuming that you can find it online. So, you know, given that, it might be a little bit more hoops to jump through to get this bottle, but you should still be able to get it. So I'm going to give the value a 7.5. I think there's just a lot going on here. There's a lot to offer. And honestly, I could see it being a little bit more than the 59 MSRP. All right, so that brings us to the total average for the Del Bac Dorado, or the Whiskey Del Bac Dorado from Hamilton Distilling. And it's gonna be a 7.25 out of 10. I think that's really respectable. Again, I didn't know what to expect going into this, but I really like this one. With it being kind of an online only thing for me to be able to pick up, I don't know if I'll have one on the shelf at all times, but knowing that I can get it, or at least should be able to, is kind of nice. So, you know, I'm gonna hold on to this one for sure. You know, share it with some people that might be interested. This is just a fantastic bottle, I think. Now that we've kind of talked about this one, we've had some time to let this one kind of open up in the glass. I'll just kind of go through it really quickly, since again, it's gonna be a lot of the same things as this one, but just slightly different. I'll try to go through and kind of just give my first impressions on this one. So, as much as I was getting red vines off of this one, it's like 2 or 3 times that on this one. And I know that's a weird kind of tasting note, or you know, nosing note, but again, that's just what I'm picking up, so I can't not say it. Yeah, this one is very much reminding me of this one as far as that mesquite smoke. We'll have to see on the palate if it's quite as smoky as this one was, because again, I think they're combining their classic American single malt with the mesquite smoked one. So it might not be quite as smoky as the Dorado, but we'll find out. There's a little bit more kind of darkness or depth to this one on the nose. You know, this one was a little bit more like light brown sugar and caramel. This one's kind of more of like a dark brown sugar and like a darker caramel molasses going on. There's a little bit more chocolate on the nose on this one too. And again, maybe that's because I've already, you know, kind of got chocolate on the brain once I was talking about the finish on this one. But I am picking up a little bit of that chocolate and tobacco on the nose that I wasn't getting on this one. All right, let's go in for a taste, guys. Oh, wow. This is pretty good stuff. Again, I'm kind of blown away by how different these are, because I've never had anything mesquite smoked like this. Maybe if I had, you know, lived in the Southwest for a long time, this wouldn't be as kind of an alien of a taste for me. But since I don't really, you know, grill out with mesquite smoked stuff, this is just a completely foreign thing to me. I'm really liking this one. It reminds me of this, but just everything cranked up to 12 as far as the flavors. I'm getting way more tobacco and dark chocolate on this one than I was with the Dorado. It's everything this is doing, but again, just ramped up. And there's just, you can taste the alcohol on this one. Like there's definitely that ethanol burn. This is cask strength. I might try to add a few drops of water to see if that opens up some things. Typically, I drink cask strength bourbon or anything just neat as it is. It is interesting though to add water to see if there's any flavors that come up that otherwise wouldn't, but this is just fantastic so far. Yeah, this is just coming off as like a hot mesquite fire with some chocolate, leather, and a little bit of tobacco in there. I mean, I think this is something you probably can't, you know, you're not gonna be able to just throw it down and just keep slamming all day. This is a very distinctive flavor. Even if you like the flavor, I think that, you know, it's something that you probably have once in a while, just as something different. You know, as far as the nose goes, I'd say I'd give that an 8. It's like this one, but just a little bit better, a little bit kind of more, you know, darker chocolate, you know, more tobacco and things like that going on with it. As far as the palate goes, I'd be comfortable giving this one easily a good 8.5 out of 10. There's just so much going on. There's so much flavor. The proof is there. So yeah, 8.5, maybe even 9, but let's just play it safe and say 8.5 out of 10 for the palate on this one. As far as the finish goes, it tends to have a lot of the same things that this does. It's just a little bit longer of a finish. So since I gave the Dorado a 7, you know, I'd bump that up to maybe a 7.5 or so on the finish on this one, the Distiller's Cut. As far as the value goes, this one I believe is an $85 MSRP bottle, and this is a limited time release, so you're not going to be able to find it year round. I don't know if you have to go to the distillery to pick this one up specifically. I didn't look to see if the online distributors ship this one or not, so I'd have to knock it maybe just a little bit for that. But you know, since this is about 60, this is 85, I'd say that $25 difference is more than worth it on the Distiller's Cut. So the value might be the same, I guess, score-wise, but I'd say if you can find a bottle of this one, the value for what you pay is higher, if that makes any sense. The only reason this one would have the same score for value as this one is just because of that availability only being available, you know, for maybe a few months out of the year. But bang for buck, I think this for 85, I would all day pay that. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something new. I had never even heard about this one before until I'd seen, you know, Worth a Dram's review. And again, go check them out. Those guys are awesome. I can't thank them enough for sending me these and for letting me experience, you know, a taste of the American Southwest. If I lived closer, I would definitely visit the distillery and check it out. But you can go check them out online, you know, and if you can order a bottle online or if you can find it near you, I would definitely give this one a try. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll link my Instagram and my Patreon down below in the comments. If you guys have had this by chance, or if you've had anything that's kind of unique like this or different, let me know in the comments and just, you know, tell me what you thought of what you had. And, you know, hopefully maybe I'll be able to find it one day as well. So thanks again for all your support, guys. Cheers. You know, I probably won't release another video before the holidays probably, so happy holidays. And hopefully I'll be coming out with a lot more videos after as well. So keep on sipping. Cheers.